UFC 293 is absolute dog shit. We don't even have a main event for this card yet. Dwayne and I are going to discuss this topic and how annoyed we actually are. But before we do that, don't forget to subscribe as we've got brand new videos coming out every week. So, Dwayne, UFC 293, we've got to be determined versus to be determined. We know it is billed as Israel Adesanya defending his middleweight title against Sean Strickland, but it's not even confirmed yet. It's not even on the cards yet. I was debating buying a ticket for this event and I could just hop over the pond and go see it, but now it's not worth it. What do you think of this card? And this is the next pay-per-view, by the way.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? After 292, we've got 293, and there's nothing decent announced. It's a total joke. Like you were saying, I might get tickets. But this event has sold out anyway, and it sold out very, very expensive tickets. You haven't got a main event. Who's buying this? Who bought these tickets? You don't even know you've seen fighting. I don't get it, to be honest. I'd never buy a ticket like that. But to be fair, I guess is how often do you get a big event in Australia? So it's worth it anyway. Let's just have a good time. But yeah, I think the big problem is we don't know if this fight's actually going to happen. Like someone asked, I think it was Ariel, he asked Izzy, he said, what sort of the chances that you're actually going to be on 293? And he was like, I think he said like 70, 80%. So it's not even 100% confirmed. We don't know what's going on with Sean Strickland. Like Sean Strickland, he said the UFC don't want it anymore. Then he said, yeah, I'm ready to fight, Izzy. Now apparently he's having trouble getting his visa to Australia. It just feels like this card is doomed already before we're even getting going. And I say getting going, it's real soon. It's like, 5-6 weeks away? It's like really, really close.
It is ridiculously close. And yeah, I mean, you do feel for it because, there is visa issues, that kind of thing. But when people are buying tickets, you think, surely it's the common courtesy. That's what your headliner is. That's your selling point. If this fight does get scrapped and we're stuck with Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov as your main event, don't get me wrong, love to see Tai fight. I hope he knocks Volkov out cold just because I'm a big fan of him. I was going to say lover, but I'll change that. But there's plenty of other fights on this card, but it doesn't quite feel like a main event. And exactly like you were saying there, we've had two events in Australia within 12-month span. We had the Perth card, which was Volkanovski versus Makachev, and now we've got this. It is really good that they're broadening the horizons, but please don't make it a blunder. Come on, UFC, get it together.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, like you're saying, if we had Tai versus Volkov headlining, this feels like a great fight night, not a fantastic pay-per-view. Because there is some really good fights on those, like Kai Kara France and stuff, and it is fun, but we need more for a pay-per-view now. I need at least 2 or 3 more big names on this card. Yeah. And I think the big problem is it's great, like you were saying, that they're spreading out, going to different places, but they're so focused on going, we're doing the Australian card, so we've got to fill it with Australian fighters. Why? You don't have to do that. I mean, yeah, sure, try and hit that main event, but don't worry so much about the location. I guarantee you the Australian fans will be very, very happy if you had, say, O'Malley and Aljamain main event in a card like that, or John Jones versus Stipe. It doesn't have to be an Australian main event in the card.
Yeah, because obviously there's suspensions, there's people get injured, that kind of thing. So it can all have a detrimental effect on the card. We do have a lot of Aussies actually fighting already. Like you touched on, we've got fantastic other fights such as Kai Kara France. We've got Jamie Malarkey. Tyson Pedro is making his comeback. I really hope he actually shows up, unlike his last fight, to be honest. We've also got the rematch of Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. And if you remember, a few months ago in June, I think, it ended via a nasty eye poke. So it is, like you say, a really fun card, but I just wish they had that big selling point. They had that on there so you can actually look forward to it. It's bound to be Adesanya, isn't it? It's bound to be. And Strickland really does make sense. Both guys are ready. If they sort the visas out, just like I said before, please don't make this a blunder.
Yeah, it's going to be, though, unfortunately, isn't it? It is going to be a blunder. It's a card that's just set up to fail, unfortunately. And like I was saying, like, why can't we put people that are Australian on here? Imagine if you had Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington on this card as the main event. That'd be great, because even if Izzy and Strickland comes to fruition, it's still a very, very boring fight. I mean, the press conference will be amazing. It'll be fantastic. But, I don't want to get too much into predictions, but we all know he's just going to storm through Strickland. Strickland's just not precise enough. He's just not good enough. And, and I love Strickland, but it's just a fact. He's too high a level. And Strickland wouldn't normally be getting a title fight. We should be having Duplessis versus Izzy, but Duplessis is not ready to fight yet. Apparently he's got like an ankle injury or something. I don't remember exactly what it is, but he's not ready to fight. And that's the big problem. The UFC have stacked their number one contender fights so close to their actual title fights. Like, look at Izzy versus not Izzy, Oliveira versus Islam, and they're like, oh well, if he's not ready, there's Dustin and Justin. I'm like, well, they're not ready either. It's so recent. You can't stack it so close. You need your contenders and your title fighters fighting around the same time so that they're ready to go within 3 to 4 months, not right, okay, go fight in 6 weeks. It's just not fair.
Just hope they get a 30-second knockout and they come back with not a mark on them, ready to go. Yeah. I'm the same. I think that Adesanya, he would just run through Strickland. But one thing, if this fight does happen, I am actually glad that it's not yet another Adesanya rematch. As much as it pained me to see Robert Whittaker get knocked out by Duplessis, it's kind of nice in the long run because it actually mixes that division up, doesn't it? Rather than it just being a very top-heavy Adesanya, then Robert Whittaker, and everyone else down there. Because divisions, is it me, Dwayne, or are divisions sort of dying off a little bit? Because these fights all happen, and then you've got the champion, the number one contender, and then everyone else, especially middleweight. Let's just talk about middleweight for now, just to go along with this card.
But yeah, 100%. I think with middleweight, it's such a messy division in the sense that Izzy's beating all the top contenders. And then, the only guy who could beat him's moved up a weight now and just beat Jan Blachowicz. And then you've got, maybe Hamzat. He could come running up there, but he's got to get through Costa first. And we don't even know if that fight's actually going to happen. With Costa versus Hamzat, it feels like that's a race to see who's going to quit first, who's going to pull out first, should I say. It's a real problem. We should not be going, oh, yeah, Sean Strickland deserves to fight Izzy, because he doesn't. He doesn't. How can you beat a guy who made his UFC debut, who's not even in the top 10, and now you're getting a title shot off that? It makes zero sense. But who else would he fight? Who else?
That's the thing. I mean, it's too soon for Cannonier to take the fight, I think. I know he pieced Marvin Vettori up, but he did take a little bit of damage in that as well. So it is the only one, but it does very much feel like it is thrown together. Overall, though, Dwayne, we're talking like this as if we absolutely hate the card. I'll be tuning in regardless. I'll be watching from the early prelims right until the main event. And so will everyone else who's complaining about it. Don't pretend that we won't. But for now, all we can do is hope and pray that this card comes together, that we might get Strickland stepping up against Israel Adesanya. But for now, I do think that's all we've got time for. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.